Hey, everybody, how y'all doing today?
Doing fine. How about yourself?
So far, so good. A little bit of rain here, which is uncommon lately. Had
I
a
was trying to do a photo shoot this morning for a real estate agent and got caught in the rain. Like literally the bottom fell out. And I was almost about to step off the porch with the camera. So I
oh,
was saved by the downpour, but I missed out on the money. But yeah, I did not expect it to rain like that.
yeah, it came through here with a pretty good gully washer. We uh we have two horses and they decided to break the pump that pumps water into their little tub that they drink water. So water was going everywhere and had to run out there with a plumber and he fixed it. And then I had to park my truck over it so that they couldn't do it again until we can figure out a way to block it off. And all this as this thunderstorm was just absolutely rip roaring through here. I mean, I haven't been that wet since I was a kid, I don't think. Head to toe, every inch. So I had that going for me. Good morning. So Rachel, do you guys start Riot this week?
Yes, Thursday
What time do they
or
have?
when it's Wednesday.
When do they start their class? Like what time is the class?
I think it starts at 10. There
And how
are a
long-
couple of sessions that start at 9 and 9:30, and it's kind of scattered throughout the day.
How long does it go? How long is the class? All day long?
It's supposed to be done around 1 or 2,
Okay.
but we've been getting invites for additional programs for 3:30, 4:30, and 5. So
Wow.
it does seem like a full day.
Wow. See how easy we are compared to that?
Yeah, they gave us homework before the classes even started.
Oh man, that's serious. I refuse. Homework, I protest homework. We're all busy enough. But I do think it's a good program. I know Rachel pretty well over there. She's real good.
Yeah.
I've run into her a few different times.
It was interesting. I found out about the program because I participate occasionally in Coffee Talk
Yeah.
with the NC Deaf Tech.
Okay.
And she was one of the guest speakers one day, the day I happened to show up. So afterwards, I reached out to her, had a couple conversations, and found out there was enough time to apply to the program. And so we went ahead and applied.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We've had a couple people come through this program after having done that. And, you know, they thought it was a good program. So I'm glad. I didn't realize it was so many hours of time. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's through the middle of August, I think.
But I'm thinking of like just in terms of the hours in the day, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not only for you, but for them. I mean, I'm just thinking of staffing and, you know, who I assume they have different people do the instruction. I hope it's not the same person doing it all. But
We'll find out.
yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Hey, Quandel. Let's see.
Hello.
Hey, tomorrow, just to make sure everyone realizes, is going to be pretty cool. We're going to have a guest speaker, a guy by the name of Andy Galinsky. And I'm trying to make Grant the co-host here. Okay. Andy has been a good friend to us and to the program. He was the executive at Clorox that was in charge of buying Burt's Bees for $1 billion. So he's got some interesting perspective. He basically has spent the last part of his career buying startup companies for large organizations. So his most recent job was with SC Johnson. Before that, of course, was Clorox. but he's worked at Georgia Pacific. He's worked at Gillette. And he's got some really funny and interesting insights on new consumer product goods company and what they look like and what makes them different and what makes the ones that end up getting acquired, why are they acquired and versus other ones that don't. So, and he's a real good guy and he really wants to help. He's also a mentor. So you may find yourself reaching out to him afterwards. So I'm looking forward to that. Also on Thursday, some of you know the famous Warren Allen. Warren is a Google AdWords guy, expert. He knows everything about that and other online advertising as well. And he's in Greenville. He's a good friend of the program. He's helped a lot of people in our program. One of his best stories is how he helped his grandparents who did not have a website and had a little business on the outskirts of Greenville. And he quadrupled the traffic to their little store using Google on the Google map. So he's a pretty cool dude. I think you'll like him. Okay, so today we're going to go into basically how to use goals, how to progress using goals. I think we're all guilty of saying something, but not necessarily following through and actually reaching the goal, even though we may want to, and we think we're doing what we have to do to reach that goal. But this is more about some of the how to do it and how to measure it and how to make sure that you're on track. So I'm going to share my screen here, and sorry, a little bit of delay here. Hopefully this will work. Let's try it. Yes. Okay. Okay, hopefully everybody can see it. The screen, that is. So we'll start off with this short trailer. I think it'll be helpful.
Is, but it's ambiguous enough that I can see myself. I see company after company after company doing the same thing. You have some major milestone you're trying to hit, you navigate well as a group for a while, and then you start corkscrewing. So today is about figuring out how to not do this. A well-stated goal that's effective has two components: the mission component and the outcome component. So that's specific enough, I know what the mission is, but it's ambiguous enough that I can see myself and I can bring my magic into that work. And as a startup, it's dangerous to be on either side of that. The trick early on is most of what you're doing, you'll have no idea if it's valuable or not. So a big piece of potentially your mission is figure out if this works, figure out if this is valuable.
Okay. Zach is an interesting guy in that he teaches for Techstars, but he actually had a multi-million-dollar exit as an entrepreneur and decided he wanted to become a teacher. So he's kind of an unusual guy. He's done it, and he pretty much is the best teacher that Techstars has, as best as I can tell. So this is about why is it important? Why is it so important to set goals?
How many Mythbusters fans in the room? All right, one of my favorite shows, so bummed that it's not on TV anymore. Anybody remember this episode? So this is where Adam and Jamie are trying to test out human navigation when you can't see anything. So Adam is about to get in the water there, and if you see way out in the distance where the arrow pointing is this big, huge reflective mirror. Adam's goal is to get into the water and swim across there. The trick though is, is his eye goggles are complete blinders. He can't see out of them at all, which just sounds awful to me. I can't imagine swimming in an open body of water and you can't see. I mean, you can't see normally in an open body of water, but even not being able to pop your head up, terrifying. So what he's trying to do is the start there is on the left, and the red dot there is what he's, or the dotted line there is what he's trying to go across, and the goal is the other side. Anybody remember how Adam does? He gets in the water, he's like, oh yeah, this isn't too bad, he's swimming along. Voiceover is like, yeah, it feels good, it feels like I'm on track. Seems like I should be there about now. Boy, I've been swimming for a while. And this is the route that he takes. So he basically just makes a corkscrew. And I see company after company after company doing the same thing. You have some major milestone you're trying to hit, you navigate well as a group for a while, and then you start corkscrewing. So today is about figuring out how to not do this. And the big thing here is I see time and time again, especially in younger startups, making the mistake between motion and progress. Just because you're super duper busy, you think that that's what matters the most. But progress really matters a lot too. So today we're going to be talking about how do you make motion, how do you make progress, not just motion. Everything that I'm showing today as examples, because I believe in kind of teaching the concept and then giving you an example and a story, all those stories are from Techstars companies or companies that I've worked with. It's probably, in companies this size, probably in the 300 to 400 now, and in very large companies that are scaling up, it's in the hundreds as well, teaching them how to do these things. Cool thing about it too is once you get good at it at this size, with only minor changes, these skills transfer all the way up to when you're 500, 1,000, 2,000 person company. Because when you're successful, the thing that goes with success is more people, more of these issues that these techniques are really powerful to solve. So how do we make progress? There's one side of a continuum which is no focus whatsoever. It's like chaos. The other side is myopic focus, rigidity around a goal. And as a startup, it's dangerous to be on either side of that. So what we're trying to find is this place in the middle where we have strong focus, but not myopic focus. And that focus enables us to go from to-do items to done items effectively. Get stuff done, which is really important as a startup. It helps us to understand the problems that we're facing because startups are basically, I call them problem whack-a-mole. If you don't like playing whack-a-mole with problems, either in your market or inside your business, you're playing the wrong sport. So getting good at going from problem to solution is important. And then because so much of what you're doing is based on intuition, and you don't have hard data yet, you have to get good at going from hunch to evidence. And focus and goal setting allows you to do that as well. So we're going to create this progress through focused goal setting. So goals have two components. A well-stated goal that's effective has two components. The mission component and the outcome component. Because a lot of what we talk about when we think about getting work done, we think about the output. I feel good about this because I got it done. I shipped it. I did something. Outcome is a little bit different, which is what are the results that we're trying to generate through doing that work. So mission, when we frame a goal as a mission, the mission component is what progress do we want to make? Meaning, what is this outcome we want to get to? The outcome is, how will we know if we are making progress? So one, you can think of it as destination or result. The other one, how do we measure it? And that's where we get objective and key result. So objective is the mission. The key result is the outcome, the measurement of the outcome you want to create. This is commonly referred to as OKRs. They've gotten pretty popular lately. What I'm actually teaching you is a blend between OKRs and about 60 years of lean experience and thinking around how to set strategy from a lean startup mindset. So those two are blended together. Most of you probably think, oh, OKRs, right, Google does that. They're the most famous for this. A lot of people think that it all started with Google. It didn't actually start with Google, it started with Intel. Back in the early 80s is where the first kind of statement of the OKRs came about. And fantastic book. It's held up incredibly well. High Output Management, Andy Grove's book. Great read. It's got some great descriptions in there from the early 80s of how Intel was doing OKRs. I actually had the pleasure to work with a team at Intel that was taking their original OKR framework and transforming it into kind of a blend of Lean and OKR. And these are powerful tools. Scale down, because you're not Intel, you don't have 5,000 people eventually doing that work. So this is all scaled down to kind of 3 to 30 people. So effective objectives, again, remember this is the mission. This is the statement of go take on this challenge. So they describe what you want to achieve, not what you want to do. So it's very common when you're setting objectives to say, let's ship feature X. But then that begs the question, what is feature X going to do for you? What is the outcome of shipping feature X? You know, it's like, oh, well, shipping feature X should allow us to get 30% more retention through the initial sign-up process. Awesome. That's your mission. Not shipping this thing, not getting it done, but shipping it. A good objective, an effective objective, is specific enough to create focus and ambiguous enough to enable autonomy. So this is a check on command and control types of leadership, which if the commander is the smartest human being in the office is an effective way to run a company. What I've seen is typically that's not the case. You're hiring smart people, you should get their wisdom into the mix. So creating focus, you could have an objective which is go make magic with the marketing campaign. That's not specific enough to create focus. And you also don't want to say, run these 2 campaigns exactly this way, because that's too specific to create autonomy. So you may want to say, we want to, thinking about, again, the outcome that we're trying to generate, what is this marketing campaign doing for us? We want to try to enable more improved signups through channel testing of marketing campaigns. So that's specific enough, I know what the mission is, but it's ambiguous enough that I can see myself and I can bring my magic into that work. You may not have a known solution when you set the objective. Especially in early days of a company, this is more likely to be the case than not. Set an objective which is, let's dramatically improve our signups through this specific web channel. You may have no idea how you're going to do that, but that's a very effective mission. So be comfortable with that when you're setting it. A lot of plan-driven, if you've come from plan-driven environments, the only valid plan is a plan that has a known solution at the end of it. Well, in startup land, that's almost never the case. So you want plans that accommodate the fact that you don't know everything you need to know when you start the work. If your objective is a to-do, ask yourself, so that what? This will get at the heart of why are you doing it? What is the outcome you're trying to drive to? Often in engineering teams, I can set an objective which is, complete the sprint. Well, that's kind of a to-do. That you could state that as a to-do item. So the underlying question there is, complete the sprint so that what? What's the advantage? What's the benefit? Anybody that's used to Agile, in a user story, there's that so that what at the end, which is the value description. So when you ask yourself the so that what, get at the value piece of it. The trick early on is most of what you're doing, you'll have no idea if it's valuable or not. So a big piece of potentially your mission is figure out if this works, figure out if this is valuable. And the so that what, you may have to ask yourself a couple of times, so that what? And when you get to the point where you're like, so that what, blank, so that what, that's why we're doing this, then that's an effective objective statement. You want it to be a mission, not a to-do list. So very often you can see these objectives where literally it's almost like a backlog statement. It's just the to-do list. We're very used to working in to-do list environments. This requires you to go one level up and ask yourself, what are these to-dos all lining up to accomplish for our company or for us or for a particular piece of it? So anytime you feel like, oh, this is just a to-do item, if I would write this on my to-do list, I encourage you to go one level up into why you're doing that. Okay, effective key results. Remember, a key result allows us to measure our progress along our mission. They're outcome focused, not task completion focused. Very often you'll see key results, so if it's ship feature X is the objective, which isn't a great objective, again, take it one level up, why are you doing it? A key result could be 100% burn down of the stories, or 100% tasks completed. That is a very, very common key result when you first start this process. I got done with 100% of my stuff. Awesome, if you're trying to make motion, but we're trying to make progress here. So again, think about what does getting 100% of that done enable. Think about the mission. Why are we doing this? What is the destination? What's the outcome we're trying to drive toward? And then ask yourself, okay, how do every day, because in this program I encourage you to check in on this every day, how do we check in on our progress toward the goal we're trying to get toward by the end of this week? They're specific and measurable. So I've seen key results, which is make the customer happy, or customer happiness is the key result. So objective is make customer happy, key result, happy customers. That's not specific enough, and it can also be potentially a challenge to measure. You can't have happiness, but I would encourage you to think about mood surveys, other quantitative things, or you can also think, remember yesterday in KPIs we talked about quantitative versus qualitative. There are ways to set key results that are qualitative, meaning we want 7 positive stories to come out of our user base. So that's a blend of those two. The positive is a judgment call. That's the qualitative side of it. So those are perfectly acceptable. Have a known starting value. So we talked about on the objective side, it's okay if you don't know how to complete it. On the key results side though, it's important to stare in the face, can we actually measure this? Because one of the traps you'll often fall into is you'll set a great objective, key result makes total sense, and that's your goal for the week, and you spend 5 days figuring out how in the world are we going to measure this key result. And you put all your effort into the measurement rather than in actually making the progress you're trying to make. So it's beneficial if you can measure it at the beginning. If you can't, then ask yourself, can we defer this key result to next week? And put in our backlog this week, our to-do items, that we want to instrument a little bit of this because we know this objective and key results coming next week. Can be multiplied by 0.7. The intention of these key results are not to sandbag yourself, meaning set a really easy bar that anybody can hit. The goal here, the intention is to set goals that stretch you a little bit. They should be a challenge to get to, which means when you get to 0.7, that means you've set a pretty good goal. So if it's getting 100 signups is your key result, you should be really happy with 70. That's how to think about this. Now the flip side of that, in startup land this isn't as important, but in larger companies this is a huge, huge issue, which is a lot of people think, oh, well, this is just management by objectives. This is an MBO, and I'm going to tie compensation, because that's what we do with MBOs. So when you tie compensation to the achievement of key results, guess what happens? You get, just like you will with your investors on term sheets, you'll get into this negotiation of what the number should be. You want it low, whoever's leading the group wants it high, and then it's this, you're negotiating with each other rather than figuring out how to actually achieve the results you want to achieve. So please don't tie compensation. You can tie parties or fun things, but any time that somebody feels like my bottom line rides on this in the short term, now the irony of this, especially for startups, is everybody's bottom line rides on this in the long term. But in the short term, you don't want it to ride on this. And you want to help understand how to move your KPIs. Yesterday during the KPI workshop, I talked about how goal setting really fits in with KPIs. KPIs are sort of the long view. Goal setting is how you move that incrementally. So think about your KPIs and think about how those relate to your goal setting. It's important not to have your KPI be your key result. And let me explain why. So remember back to yesterday when we were talking about we've got leading and lagging indicators, we've got generic specific behavioral. So let's say that what we're trying to do is from a KPI standpoint over a series of goal setting weeks, we want to increase our daily active users. So this is a KPI we're tracking. This is a super important KPI for us as a company. Don't pick daily active users as your key result for goal setting. What you want to do is look in this zone for your key results. Because what you're trying to do is figure out in that Rube Goldberg, that your machine that you're inside of that's called your company, you're trying to figure out what's the link between the KPI that matters the most to us and the other things we can measure that are going to drive change over time of that KPI. So this is really important when you're setting goals to move KPIs. Keep this image in mind. The reality is, when you look at this, you're like, I have no idea what's going to improve daily active users. Awesome. Take your best guess. Take the best guess that you can quickly measure, that you can quickly move forward, set a goal around it, drive it for a week, see what happens. If there's no correlation there, awesome. You learned that there's no correlation between this thing we were just measuring and the KPI we're trying to increase. You want to create an understanding about the link between action and outcome. Again, like the OK Go video yesterday, you're going to knock some bowling pins down, ball's going to roll this way, and you're going to have no idea what gets set off. So this is about learning the linkage, the correlation linkage. Ultimately, you want to get to cause and effect, but don't jump to cause and effect too soon, because initially all you're going to have is correlation. If we do this over here, it seems like this happens over here. And this over here seems like it's part of this over here. Remember, correlation goes both directions, or makes sense in both directions. So you're going to have moments where, yeah, Facebook spend goes up, signups go up. Well, signups went up and Facebook spend went up too. So you're going to have that level of understanding of your business. But that's a really important part of the key results. It's a learning exercise. And it's okay if this feels frustrating. What this is going to do, the first few times you do this, is like, well, this sucks. Because like I set this key result. I don't know if it was the right key result. It didn't move. What's going on? And I'll get into in a second here how you fight through that and get smarter about your business. So again, this isn't just about getting work done. This is about getting smarter about how your business and your market work together. It's ideal if you have a short lag between action and measurable outcome. Net Promoter Score, I'll pick on Net Promoter Score for a second. It's a great measure. It makes for a horrible key result. Anybody that's done a lot of Net Promoter work, you know there's a pretty sizable lag often between interaction with the customer and the Net Promoter Scores going up or down. Especially when you're doing weekly goal setting, it's really super hard to move your NPS week over week. If you slice it by channel, or if you do slice it by cohort, sometimes you can get it, but often people's sentiment takes a long time. So be mindful of how long is that lag.
Okay. So there's a series of worksheets here that are available if you want to dig into this some more. Just some comments I wanted to kind of talk about here. So this is somewhat of a bigger company technical kind of approach to managing things. All of the terminology that he's using, you might not be familiar with it. KPIs are key performance indicators. Whether that's, growth in your top line revenue or fewer returns of your product, whatever. There's all kinds of ways to measure KPIs. And there's actually software out there that will give you a dashboard of your KPIs. And you can track them by looking at a dashboard. Salesforce, I know, is one company that provides that kind of technology. But what he's trying, and Zach is an engineer, so he approaches things in kind of an engineering kind of way. But what I find really interesting about this is if you think back to our video of Simon Sinek, where he talked about finding your why. Why are you doing this, right? And if you add that layer to what you just saw, what Zach is trying to say is, all of these things that you're doing, why are you doing it? What's the purpose? And let's measure reaching our mission or reaching our goal. He talks about that in kind of in a different way, but it's the same exact thing. Like that guy swimming around in circles in the middle of the water. That's because he did not have any metrics or any guidance to reach his goal. He just jumped in the water and started swimming. And that's what most of us do, at least for a while. You just thrash around and you figure, if I do this, then I'll get that. And you constantly, particularly if you find yourself in a reactive mode all the time because of financial pressure or other issues, it actually is what's the definition of a death spiral, right? You're going to spiral down because you're not in control. You're reacting, and so his thing, which I really like, is he looks at it a different way, but it's the exact same message that Simon Sinek said. And I encourage you to go back and watch that video of Simon Sinek again. I just find it remarkable what he's talking about. It's Simon Sinek, and it's from 2009. It's probably his first video. It's a TEDx talk, but it's just remarkable how he constantly goes back to, what you believe is demonstrated by what you do, right? And he goes through that over and over, and he talks about, why are you doing this? What's why is Apple so successful year after year, even though they're the same as every other computer company at their core? And so this guy, Zach, is trying to do the same sort of thing, only in a more technical and analytical way. He's saying, don't just be busy for the hell of it. Be busy because you're going to reach your mission. You're going to reach your goal, your objective, and your measurement. If you're a manager and you're dealing with a team of people that are all striving to do the same thing, which is usually the case in a startup, then it's even more important that everybody understand, why in the hell are we doing this? What is the purpose? No one hates busy work more than me right here. And I'm sure you all are in the same boat. Just to do something because it drives me insane. Maybe I have a psychological problem. I don't know, but I just can't do it. And I couldn't do it in school. It's just the way I am. So maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur. I don't know, too crazy for anything else. But the point is, life is better for everybody if you're moving towards something that you really believe. It's why you're doing it. And I don't know if any of you all have taken the time to kind of revisit why you're doing what you're doing and thinking about that in that context. Hopefully you will. So I wanted to introduce you to this guy, Zach, and that's really all I have for today. I don't know if anybody has any questions or reactions or thoughts.
No, I liked it. In my other business, I definitely can see us occasionally doing the corkscrew
Yeah.
and having to step past it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it certainly will be applicable to this new one.
Yeah, one of the things I like to think there's lots of different kinds of businesses, and the definition of success is really different for different people. And one of the things that I've been exposed to when I was a kid was a car dealership. A friend of mine actually owned a Toyota dealer, and he actually was a horrific manager. He was so bad, it was unbelievable. But what he would do is he basically was like a football coach, basically yelling and screaming to sell more cars that month. And after you see this for a few months, it kind of gets old. Like, my entire existence is defined by my ability to sell cars this month, and it's going to start all over again next month. It just really it's an example, but that's an example of the guy as a leader not sharing where he's going, right? Which in his case, he wanted to buy more dealerships. He wanted to grow. He wanted to have things for his kids to do, et cetera. He had lots of reasons, but all he communicated was, how many sales did you make today? Or how many, your value to him was strictly based on how many cars you sold. And if you didn't sell cars, you were bad. If you sold cars, you were good. It was really simplistic, but I was exposed to that when I was really young, and I could see that that was very limiting, very short-term thinking, and very transactional. And a lot of sales jobs are like that, particularly in financial service. If you're a stockbroker or you're selling, some kind of product, your worth, is how much have you sold? And I just encourage you to get beyond that, and get beyond that with your people, and try to have think about, why in the hell are you doing this? And is it the highest and best use of your time and your personality and your spirit? And if it isn't, stop doing it. I don't care what it is. You can't do it. It's just a matter of time till it blows up. That's my pontification for today.
What we tell our managers is you can work on the business or in the business, and you've got to pick. And if you want to grow the business, then you've got to stop working in the business. You have to start working on the business. And that really helps realign their focus. This week, we want you to train up more staff. So you have to work, on that process instead of trying to work on each individual job as it comes through the pipeline, because it's really hard to split your focus.
Yeah. Well, I know when I graduated from college a long time ago, 1978, and what was happening at that time was there was a lot of management training programs at big companies, right? So if you went to work at IBM or General Motors or any of these companies, the normal routine was they would rotate you through all these different areas of the company. You'd work for a while in accounting and manufacturing, yada, yada, yada. And the thinking was that you'd find that which appealed to you. But I do think, I don't hear about that as much. I don't know if that's still common as a practice, but it's kind of a good idea, like you just described, Dan, where, instead of being totally focused on your particular responsibility, you just gave an example that you want people to train staff. Maybe it has to be interpreted that you will benefit if you do that, but in a bigger picture, it's about the business and not just about you. And that's a hard thing to communicate. And, it goes into this, why it's really important to really have people who share your why, share your belief. They get it. They don't even want to argue about that part. They might argue about everything else, but why you're doing it, the more people that you have that are on board for that, the more likely everyone's going to reach their objective. So, any other thoughts or observations, anybody? Okay. So tomorrow is Andy Galinsky. Great guy. It's so rare for a major corporate dude to be such a good human being. I just find it so rare. That's why I really like Andy. And some of you have heard him before, but he's more than willing to help in any way if he can. And I think you'll enjoy it, and you'll enjoy meeting him. And he wants you to follow him on LinkedIn, and he'll follow you. And he's that kind of guy. He's retired from SC Johnson, so he's got his own consulting firm now, so he has more time. But he really cares about people, and I've never met anyone from a major corporation at his level that is like that. It's just unusual. So I like it, and I hope you all find it helpful. And then Thursday will be Warren, and he's a very different kind of dude. I think everyone will like him. And if you have questions about advertising, Facebook, Google, whatever, he's forgotten more than most of us know. So don't hesitate to ask him any questions, or if you wonder about stuff, he'll tell you what he thinks. And the other good thing about Warren is he's not trying to sell you anything. He knows that once you hear him, if you feel like you need help, you'll reach out to him. He's not high pressure at all. He's not worried about it. I think he's about as busy as a human being can be. And if he makes a single sales pitch in his presentation, I will pass out from shock, because I've never seen him do it. So always the first time. So if you see me pass out, that's what happened. But anyway, thanks for everybody for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow.